Hello, travelers. Welcome back to the EAP podcast. Today I'm joined with the amazing Casey. She went abroad to Bologna in Italy. And yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit more about that, Casey?
Thanks for having me, Mark. So like Mark said, I'm Casey. I am a fourth year language, culture, and society major at UCSB. I studied abroad in Bologna for about 7 months until I had to come home due to COVID. And I had amazing experience, and now I'm a peer advisor for UCSB EAP. So obviously, I had a wonderful time if I'm here today. But yeah, I took courses that counted towards major credit. I took courses that counted towards general education credit, and I met some amazing people. So yeah, I'm ready to
Awesome.
talk about it.
Awesome. Yeah. So you kind of got the whole EAP experience. What was yeah, I think the easiest question is like, what was your favorite part of Bologna? Like I've never been, but I love Italy. So
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking into programs to go abroad, I had honestly like never heard anything about Bologna other than maybe just that it was spelled like bologna. And I know that's really lame, but I talked to other people about it too, and they're like, "You're going where in Italy?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm going to do some more research." But Bologna is actually a really amazing progressive hub for culture in Italy, and it's also ranked as one of the top places for food in Italy, which I think is
ooh,
saying something considering how awesome the food is in Italy, like all around.
yeah,
So
that's
I
quite a feat.
definitely, yeah, seriously. So I mean, one of my favorite parts of Bologna, definitely there are so many, but one of my favorites was the food. Just getting to try lots of new things. There's a lot of different like cultures coming together in Bologna as well that I didn't expect. I had some amazing sushi while I was there, Thai
Ooh,
food. So
dang.
there was definitely a variety. Definitely not the Mexican food. That was that was I saved that for California.
Yeah, that problem was in Berlin as well. It was a little
Oh,
tragic, but
so disappointing. I
a
missed
little
Mexican
bit, yeah.
food so much while I was abroad. But no, anywho, Bologna, yeah, amazing food. Traditional dishes like tagliatelle al ragu, which is spaghetti bolognese here in the United States. Tortellini comes from Bologna as well. So yeah, lots of great stuff to eat, a lot of fun stuff to do. And like I said before, it's a really progressive city. So I loved that it was really a politically active, politically charged climate there. We marched for the environment while I was there. There were also protests, and I got to know what Antifa was while I was there. So it was really interesting to learn about all of these different like generations and cultures coming together to kind of fight for their rights and fight for what they believe in. And there were always people speaking up about issues happening in Italy. So, yeah, definitely a not a dull moment when you're in Bologna.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can actually relate. I went to. Did you guys have a Fridays for Future march there?
Not to my knowledge. I don't
Oh,
remember.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
we there was one in Berlin that I went to, and it was pretty inspiring because you're just like, yeah, we're in the moment, like we're in this like 30 years, like that'll be in textbooks and stuff, and you can say like,
absolutely.
I was there, like
I'm
I
a
I
part of
was a part of
history right
that,
now.
like yeah, exactly. I mean, we all are, especially with COVID and everything, but
Definitely.
yeah, that's super awesome that you were able to, speak your voice and really have it heard.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it was an amazing part of being abroad and just feeling like I was in a college town as well. It's a lot more similar to IB than I think people would think upon initial like research. The University of Bologna makes up the entire city. So you could have
Wow.
one class on one side of the city and then, take a bus for 15 minutes, go to the other side of the city for another class in this random building, like amongst a bunch of like grocery stores and stuff. And so
Yeah.
you never know what you're going to get, and it's kind of a fun adventure finding your classes. And then I never took really classes with the same people twice, so I got to meet a lot of interesting people, and tons of college age students, because like I said, the university makes up the city. So a lot of like-minded people, a lot of people that were my age, which I'm used to now living in Isla Vista. So that was really great to see. It's not next to the beach, unfortunately, but still just amazing and beautiful. And it snowed in the winter, and that was one of my favorite parts as well. It snowed for a couple
I'm
days.
jealous. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like crossing my fingers for Berlin because Berlin, it's like very hit or miss. Like sometimes it does
Yeah.
snow, but for the most part, or like most years it doesn't. I was like, come on, make this the year.
Um,
And like we got like one of the warmer years, so
of
there was definitely
course.
like zero chance of snow, but that's okay. There was one night I walked home, there was a little bit of ice on the ground, so I was like,
Oh,
oh, dang,
okay.
like
Like I see it. I see it.
I'm cold living. Like
Yeah, same. I love the cold weather. Oh my gosh, I had never seen snowfall before.
oh,
So
really? Wow.
I was freaking out. I was so excited. It only lasted, I think, like 2 days, but I had the most amazing time in the winter in Bologna. It was gorgeous. Like even without the snow, there were like three different Christmas markets in town, and so you couldn't miss it. It always smelled amazing. There was Christmas music pumping through the streets and lights everywhere. I felt like I really did feel like I was in a fairy tale sometimes. It was incredible. And the food and the drinks and stuff are usually pretty cheap. So I would go to like Piazza Minghetti and get like a cup of mulled wine for a couple euros and walk around and buy some sweets. And yeah, winter is by far my favorite time to be in Bologna. So I'm missing it right now, especially the first snowfall just happened the other day. I was
Yeah.
texting my friends from when I was there in fall, my fall friends, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, it's snowing in Bologna! That's so exciting! I remember when it was snowing and we were there." And yeah, so I mean, I made some amazing friends while I was there who are also a part of UCEAP, who went to different UCs, and we still keep in contact and love to
Oh,
talk
that's
about our
awesome.
memories and things like that.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, it's great to hear from them.
Yeah, I fun EAP tip.
Hot tip.
Hot tip, yes, I like that. We're gonna use that as a segment now.
I love
Hot tip. Um, if you, I know a lot of people are going to be attracted to bigger programs like
yes,
Paris, London, you know, those big cities. And
yeah,
while you can have an amazing time there, don't get me wrong, uh,
absolutely.
some of the some of those cities are just unbelievably expensive. So if you're, you know, you're in like a money
Yeah.
bind or you're just looking to like not spend as much abroad, definitely try some of the smaller towns because food is cheaper, living expenses are cheaper, like basically everything all around is cheaper. I got really lucky because Berlin is kind of a cheap big city, so like
I
the
didn't
food
know
there is
that.
usually a lot less expensive than places like London and stuff. Um, and rent can be way lower. Like
Oh, great.
some
Well,
of my
compared to
friends,
London, yeah. I feel
yeah,
like
yeah. I
everything's
think,
probably
yeah, one
cheap.
of my friends, I think she was paying like 400 euros a month or something.
Oh,
Like, yeah, like
no.
quality rent prices.
Yeah,
um,
seriously.
but yeah, so that's a hot tip.
Definitely. I had some amazing experiences in smaller towns in Italy. In fact, that's where most of my traveling went when I wasn't obviously studying or in school. I love to take kind of like spontaneous weekend trips with my friends. We would get on this thing called Flixbus in Bologna. Do you have Flixbus? 'Cause it's everywhere, right?
I
Um,
mean, it's a German company, so
I didn't even know that. I was just like, ooh, Flixbus.
yeah.
Yeah, so we took like Flixbus and we took Omnibus a couple times. But yeah, we would take, the Flixbus and it would be like a €7 ticket to, and then we would just look at the website and see where was it cheapest to go on Saturday, and then we would
Right.
just go there. So one of my favorite trips was to this small northern town called Trento, and it has like an Italian and like German population.
Oh,
And
very cool.
it was a great little town, and we got to explore this huge castle that we didn't know was going to be there. We didn't do any research. We just said, let's just go and see what happens.
That's so cool.
It was amazing. Yeah, we went for the day. It was me and five of my friends. We all had matching jean jackets on. We looked like a bunch of tourists. We took pictures everywhere.
Everybody's
Um,
like these Americans. Oh
yeah,
my god.
and like I was pretty much the only one who's like was conversational in Italian, so I was
Mhm.
trying to translate for everyone. And no, it was an amazing experience. And we took this cable car up into the Apennines Mountains,
Oh,
and
that's so cool.
it was amazing. We got to see the whole city from like thousands of feet above, and it was just absolutely breathtaking. And one of my favorite moments, one of my favorite days while I was abroad. And if we hadn't just took the time to look at Flixbus and say, hey, like, let's just go somewhere this weekend, let's take the cheapest ticket and go, we wouldn't have had that experience. So
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know if that's another hot tip, but definitely look at Flixbus, look at, cheap tickets for flying around, Ryanair and Air France. Like, it may not be the most comfortable ride of your life, but it's
It'll
definitely
get you there, right? That's the most important part.
yeah, literally. But yeah, just those amazing experiences. I only went to one other country while I was abroad. I went to France for my birthday, but I went to so many little cities in Italy, and I don't regret it one bit. I loved exploring Italy. I was there to study abroad in Italy, so I felt it was really important that I explored the town around me. And I'm like, try to save money. I try not to be frivolous with my spending as well. So I did spend a lot of time just in Bologna exploring by myself. Which was actually a lot of fun because on the weekends they have this thing called tea days in Bologna, where the downtown street, Via Ugo Bassi, is completely sectioned off from all traffic so that people can walk in the streets and go into shops and stuff like
I
that. So
love
every
that.
Saturday that. And it was amazing. I could just walk in the streets. There were street performers, and people had like all their art on display as well. And it was just an amazing culmination of people just like walking and coming together and just spending their Saturday together. And I think that's something really special that Bologna did, because they knew, the tourist traffic is obviously more prominent on the weekends too. So more people equals, you need more space to walk around. And
Right.
yeah, I love those. It felt like a little fair every weekend. And so I was always interested to see what they had going on. So, whatever city you're in, I highly recommend exploring that to its fullest extent, because you may think you have a lot of time abroad, but it
It
goes by in a
passes.
flash.
Yeah,
I know that's cliche to say, but it really does. So take that
absolutely.
time and explore your city.
Yeah.
So
No, I
worth it.
totally agree. Um, yeah, I love all of that. I mean, that was kind of my experience in Berlin as well. It's like, I mean, Berlin's huge, so like there was a lot more city to explore,
Right.
and it was just really fun to like turn a corner and be like, wow, this is like a completely different part of the. There was one time I like walked. I got lunch with a friend, and we just like walked, and we suddenly found ourselves at this like really cool park, and we were like,
Wow.
where did this come from? Like, what?
I would have had no idea had you not just been walking around and exploring. And I love the pictures of you like at the Berlin Zoo with that little
Oh,
bear statue. So
yeah,
cute.
the bear statues are so fun. They're like everywhere, and they're always themed differently. So I have like 6 or 7 pictures of like different bears around Berlin, and they were like one of my favorite things to take pictures of because every time I find one, I was like, oh my god, like there's another one.
Now you have a
Um,
collection of bear pictures, and that's like
exactly.
totally like
Yes.
reminiscent of your
Exactly.
time there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I actually, when I went to Madrid, they had a similar thing. It was like these like womanly figures, and they were decorated like in these really beautiful patterns. And I was like, hey, it's like the bears. Like I'm gonna take as many pictures as I can. And I think I found like 4 or 5. So
it's this
that was super
motif when
fun.
you're traveling, this
Exactly.
reoccurrence.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, but I think something that will be really interesting for our viewers to hear is about your internship while you were in Bologna. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, definitely. So, like Mark said, while I was abroad, I had an internship with UCEAP. So basically, I went to Bologna and I knew that I wanted to either have a job or have an internship or do something that involved the city, just so I could get to know it better. And I wanted to work with UCEAP because I knew that when I came back, I wanted to be a peer advisor. So I kind of had this plan in my head of how it was all going to work out. But then I asked my supervisors at the UC Study Center, Peggy and Mayu. I said, hey, like, are there any opportunities for an internship here with the study center? I'd love to help you guys plan events for students at the University of Bologna, or, just figure out how it all works. And they were like, well, we don't have an internship like that. Like, we've never had anyone ask to do something like that. So no. And I was like, okay, well, can I create my own internship? Because I have a very specific vision in mind, and I think it would be really beneficial. And they were like, why not? So they gave me a bunch of paperwork to fill out, and it was a collaborative effort. Myself and the academic coordinator and Mayu, who was also supervisor there, we figured out what we wanted the internship to look like, what my goals were, like if it was going to be paid or count for course credit. It did actually end up counting for some course credit, which was amazing. And yeah, so we came up with it together, and basically my job was to be a liaison between the University of Bologna students and the UCEAP students.
Oh, awesome.
So, for example, I went to the University of Bologna's student orientation for prospective UC students. So it was this big classroom full of University of Bologna students who had already been accepted into UC programs for the following year, but it hadn't decided which schools they were going to go to yet, because they rank the schools, in whichever order that they want to go to, and
Yeah.
then they placed based on their rankings. And so I got to talk to them for a little bit about what it's like to be at UCSB and then UCEAP more in general. I took notes on how their system works over there so that I had a better idea and could share that knowledge with the UC centers to try and help build better relations with those students and build a better system so that it's more accessible to more people. And then I also did a little meet and greet for the UCEAP students and the University of Bologna students. I arranged a museum tour for our
Ooh.
UCEAP students at the History Museum of Bologna, so they got to know a little bit more about the history. And it was a catered event that we had with a local cafe, and they brought all these amazing appetizers, and we had name tags for everyone. And so they got to discuss with UC students, actual UC students, about whatever university they wanted to go to when they got to California. So they got like that inside scoop on what it's like to be at each UC.
That's so
So I thought
cool.
that event was so much fun, and I was really proud of it. And yeah, so it was just about building bridges between these communities, and making sure everyone got to know where they were and what they wanted to be doing. So yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I really wish I could have continued the internship, but I had to come home due to COVID. But while I was there, I also created a program called Campus Representatives. And so I had a list of all the University of Bologna students that wanted to go to specific UC campuses, and I put them in touch with campus representatives from those UCs so that they had a direct line via email or through phone calls. About those UCs and what it's like to live on those campuses. So
Awesome.
yeah, it was all about creating connections, which is why it counted for communication studies credit when I
For
came back.
sure.
So yeah, I'm really glad that I got to do that. And I think that if I could just give like one piece of advice for people looking for internships is do all the research that you think is necessary. And if you find something that's already in place, then that's amazing. And you can go and advocate for why you think you should get the internship. But don't limit yourself either. If you don't see something that you genuinely enjoy or think you could succeed at, then why not create your own? Get in touch with people who are in charge of your UC Study Center, get in touch with faculty at your host university. There's really no downside. The worst they can say is no, sorry, like we can't do that right now. But
Yeah.
at least you tried. Now you have a clear vision of what you want to do. So I think anything is really possible. And I think my internship showed that. And so I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, that is so cool. Um, we had a program where in Berlin, like the Berlin students who were going to go to the UCAP, like to the US,
Yeah.
came and like were like interviewing each of the UC campus students because I think we had students from like most of the UCs, I want to say.
Yeah.
Um, and so you basically created that for Bologna. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, well, that's amazing to hear that it's already in place in other programs as well. It's like, okay, it's not a super radical idea. It's already out there. But now Bologna has it too. So now other students can see the paperwork that I did and the events that I created, and they can say, oh, like I want to do something like that for this year's students, and they can do that too. So
Right.
it's about maintaining those connections as well. That's amazing that
Absolutely.
everyone already had something like that. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's always a great thing to, because I mean, studying abroad is daunting. I mean, let's keep it real. Like you're in a total,
Yeah.
like not new, but like, you're in a totally different country and you're trying to figure out not just how to study there, but how to live there. And, you know, there's a bunch of stuff going on. And to just like, to have a couple of people who like are from there, who know what they're doing, who can help you out, like, I feel like that's always a benefit for everybody involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I really like cherished our UC center in Bologna. So it was this little like room at the top of the on the second story of this random building in the city, and it was a small space where the UCEAP students could gather and talk about classes or study, and then they had interns from the University of Bologna working at the UC Study Center so that they could help us be more acclimated to classes or even tutor us in our Italian courses that we were taking. So there are a lot of benefits to being at the UC Study Center. There's also a library full of books there that we could check out, because you do kind of have, I don't know if this was the same in your experience, but I did have a lot of free time that I didn't expect to have. So I read like 4 books in my first semester there, and I didn't expect to do that, but it was a great little surprise. It was just kind of like a comfortable, safe place to be as well. You know, if you're in town and you don't have anywhere to be, a lot of the times if you want to sit down, like it's at a cafe and then you have to pay for coffee and then you can't really stay that long. So the study center was a great place to go if I was just tired from walking all day, needed some water, wanted to talk to someone about a class. Then I could go there and find reprieve, as it were.
Right.
So yeah, I would highly recommend checking out your UC Study Center wherever you are, taking full advantage of everything they have to offer, because sometimes they offer actual courses too that can count for credit when you come back. I took a course that was literally just called walking, and the director of our program, Pasquale Verdicchio, he ran the course, and we basically just talked about the differences between walking in Italy versus walking in the United States and in California more specifically. And we talked about lots of different philosophers and theorists. And I created this project where, I walked without a map for a day in a small town, Padua. And I just looked at where the roads took me. And then I talked about how that like affected my time and how I would implement those kinds of ways of thinking when I came back to the United States. So long story short, definitely check out what the UC Study Center has to offer, because there could be some amazing things that you didn't expect, some things that you don't see on the course catalogs for your host university as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it all. I think it's so cool that you took the initiative to do your internship and, you know, showing our fellow travelers at the podcast that, you know, it's possible. So thank you. I think the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was the Study Abroad Club. I know you and Jackie, another peer advisor, run it. And why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like Mark said, Jackie and I run the Study Abroad Club this year. We don't have a set schedule of when our meetings are as of yet. We're hoping in winter quarter that will be more solid, but it'll probably be every other week. We just had a really fun event this past Tuesday. So I don't know when this is coming out, but it was just a little bit ago. And it was a Name That Tune event. And so we had like a Kahoot game where we played a bunch of different holiday tunes and talked about how we spent the holidays abroad. And then we had a Study Abroad Club meeting before that. Our first one was called Where in the World Are We? And we had a bunch of pictures of students who went abroad and tried to guess what countries their pictures were taken in. So yeah,
I
it's
was
just
there. I did pretty well. Just saying.
yes, you did, Mark. You killed it in that game. Thank you for participating. So good, and thank you for the pictures you submitted. Actually, they were
Absolutely.
fantastic. So yeah, Study Abroad Club is for students who want to get to know other students who have went abroad or want to get to know other prospective students. So it really is for everyone. It's not just for returnees. We offer application help. We talk about different deadlines. We talk about just what it's like to be abroad as well. And that includes things like housing, traveling, maybe even some financial aid. You know, we don't get super specific, but it is kind of like a mentorship program. So yeah, I would highly recommend it for prospective students especially, and just get to know like-minded people too. You may meet someone who wants to go to the same country as you. You can start talking about, you know, what does housing look like there. You might find your roommate, you know, for when you go abroad. If you join Study Abroad Club, you never know.
Cool.
International students are welcome too, if any of them are watching this, if you're a reciprocity student, or if you're an international student and want to meet other people or talk about what it was like, living in your country and taking classes from UCSB online. We're here for everyone's story and just to make connections. So yay, Study Abroad Club. Also follow us on Instagram, EAP Club UCSB. If you look that up, then you'll find us, and we post about our upcoming meetings and any events that we might have. You can also find us at Shoreline, the UCSB EAP account. We just got renewed as a club, so now the Study Abroad Club on Shoreline will be up and running shortly, so catch us on there as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Casey.
Thanks
You
for
can
having
visit
me,
our website. Yes, of course. You can visit our website at eap.ucsb.edu for any other questions you might have. The peer advisors are always here to answer any questions about applications or otherwise. So, yeah, thanks for joining us today, and have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, Mark. You too. Bye, everyone.
Bye.